We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Zimbabwe opposition chief eyes Obama effect in a historical poll. Record rains devastate Japan. Pompeo says sanctions will stay until North Korea's final denuclearization. Farmers are caught in the middle of US-China trade war. Plus, E3 2018 draws tens of thousands of video gaming fans to the annual show. Hello everyone, I am Ace Ramirez, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Zimbabwe's main opposition leader and presidential hopeful, Nelson Chamisa, believes he will ride a wave of youthful optimism to election victory, emulating Barack Obama, Emmanuel Macron, and Justin Trudeau. In an interview, the 40-year-old Chamisa said Zimbabweans were craving generational change in the landmark July 30 elections. The vote will pitch him against President Emerson Mnangagwa, a septuagenarian who was once a pillar of the Mugabe regime.
Our time, they must actually be the ones who are archived because they are of no use now. They are only of use as pensioners. I mean, Mr. Mnangagwa is 75, Chiwenga is 65. They must be resting. They've done a lot. You can't be a hero of two struggles. So yes, I can understand their anger because we are challenging the status quo, because we are introducing a disruptive narrative. But that's their problem, and we hope to cure it after the 30th of July. Well, change is in the air. We feel it. It's almost everywhere. The fever has gripped the whole nation, and we are so excited that a change is finally going to come. I mean, you say that change started last year. It didn't start last year. We aborted change last year. And I mean, the exit of President Mugabe was not in itself total change. It was just the beginning of that change. So what we want is not just change of faces, but change of politics.
Barack Obama became U.S. President at age 47. Justin Trudeau became Canadian Prime Minister at 43, while France's Emmanuel Macron became President at just 39.
We are still very optimistic. Once we have the printing of the ballot being done in a manner that is transparent, we are going to win this election, hands down. I mean, Mr. Mnangagwa is aware that he's facing probably the stiffest of his competition ever. And it's not because of myself, it's because of the mood in the country. People are connecting with young leadership. Look, we are going to accept the results because we are going to win. Of course, if we are not going to win, it's difficult for us to accept fiction because there's no possibility that Mr. Mnangagwa will win this election. I mean, he knows it. It's known by everyone.
Chamisa has led the Movement for Democratic Change, or MDC, since the death of his mentor and predecessor Morgan Tsvangirai in February. He will face off against 75-year-old Mnangagwa, whose ZANU-PF party, which has ruled Zimbabwe since independence 38 years ago, has sought to portray Chamisa as a political novice. The public space was once a site of major protest against former President Robert Mugabe, 94, who ruled for 37 years, in which he clamped down hard on his political opponents. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe warned Sunday of a race against time to rescue flood victims as authorities issued new alerts over record rains that have killed at least 48 people. The torrential downpours have caused flash flooding and land in western parts of the country, prompting evacuation orders for over 2 million people. As he met with the government crisis cell set up to respond to the disaster, Abe said rescue, saving lives, and evacuations are a race against time. There are still many people whose safety has yet to be confirmed. Top government spokesman Yoshihide Suga said the death toll in days of record rains now stood at 48, but the toll is expected to rise further with local media saying over 50 people were dead and dozens more missing. The rain has completely blanketed some villages, forcing desperate residents to take shelter on their rooftops, with floodwaters swirling below as they wait for rescue. Over 2 million people have been told to evacuate, but the orders are not mandatory, and many remained at home, becoming trapped by rapidly rising water or sudden landslides. The Meteorological Agency issued its highest level alert for 2 new regions on Sunday, while lifting the alerts for other areas where rains were subsiding. In the town of Mihara, in the south of the Hiroshima region, a temporary let-up in rain laid bare the devastation wrought by the downpours. Roads were transformed into muddy flowing rivers, with dirt piled up on either side and stranded cars barely withstanding the current flowing around their wheels. Work crews could be seen elsewhere trying to clear multiple small landslides that coated roads in mud, rendering them virtually impassable. In western Okayama Prefecture, around 200 people, including children and elderly people, were trapped in a hospital after a river burst its banks and flooded the surrounding area.
Up next, Pompeo says sanctions will stay until North Korea's final denuclearization. Farmers are caught in the middle of U.S.-China trade war. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return in a moment.
As Eagle Broadcasting Corporation marks its 50th year, it is conducting several activities under the theme EBC Cares, enabling a better community. Health and nutrition are key factors on child's learning and well-being. EBC's feeding program encourages the community to combat malnutrition among children and ensure them a healthy future. EBC's cleanup drive and citronella planting hopes to help the community in caring for environment and preventing diseases such as dengue. EBC's public service program, Paglilingkod sa Bayan, Serbisyo para sa Mamamayan, has opened its doors to government agencies so more people can avail of these services. EBC's blood donation program and medical mission continue to spearhead life-saving projects, and EBC's livelihood seminar teaches and guides those who want to have additional income and business. EBC Cares, serving the people in these interesting times.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 7:30 hanggang alas 8 ng umaga.
Sharing. Pass it on.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang alauna ng hapon.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Sunday sanctions in North Korea will remain in place until Pyongyang achieves final denuclearization. Speaking in Tokyo after holding meetings in Pyongyang, Pompeo said Washington would continue enforcing sanctions until North Korea carried out fully verified final denuclearization.
Pompeo is in Tokyo to brief his Japanese and South Korean counterparts on the talks, which he has characterized as productive. But shortly after he left Pyongyang, North Korea issued an angry statement rejecting what it described as Washington's gangster-like demand for rapid nuclear disarmament. Pompeo, speaking at a press conference with his Japanese and South Korean counterparts, said he had a lengthy discussion about complete denuclearization with North Korean officials.
But first, let me make clear, North Korea reaffirmed its commitment to complete denuclearization. We had detailed and substantive discussions about the next steps towards a fully verified and complete denuclearization. Sanctions will remain in place until final fully verified denuclearization, as agreed to by Chairman Kim, occurs.
Today's meeting among the three of us underscores the unwavering commitment on the part of our three countries to achieve the shared goal of complete denuclearization and the establishment of lasting peace and on the Korean Peninsula. The Security Council sanctions, as we have agreed in our trilateral meeting, will remain in place and faithfully implemented until we are assured of complete denuclearization by North Korea.
Today, we were able to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to continue strengthening of our trilateral cooperation towards the common goal of North Korea's complete, verifiable, and irreversible dismantlement of all weapons of mass destruction and ballistic missiles of all ranges. At the same time, we have reaffirmed that international community will continue to fully implement relevant UN Security Council resolutions in order to materialize CVID.
Thank you very much. Terry Davidson is a fifth-generation farmer in rural Harvard, Illinois. His town is a 2-hour drive from Chicago, the third-largest U.S. city, but a world away. Davidson is 41 years old, a Democrat among mostly Republicans, with suntanned skin and hair bleached almost white by the hours spent under the blazing sun.
Davidson expects to be farming long after the U.S.-China trade tariffs, which went into effect Friday, become a distant memory. The U.S. imposed 25% duties on $34 billion in Chinese goods on Friday. China immediately retaliated with tariffs on U.S. goods, including soybeans. Like other soybean farmers, Davidson is caught in the middle. Months from now, at harvest time, he is unsure how the tariffs will affect the price he can command for his crop.
Yeah, we watch the market price every day on the RFD channel. See if it's going up or going down. Maybe there's a better day to haul something in the elevator, or maybe a worse day. We try to pick the better days. I don't feel like there's a policy. I feel like there always used to be a policy, but now it's Trump is all about him. I don't think he gives a damn about farmers, even though he says he does.
But other farmers and the interest groups that represent them are sounding the alarm. Soybean farmers are especially concerned because they sell most of their crops overseas. China is their biggest and fastest growing market. While many farmers generally support Trump's stated efforts to negotiate better trade deals, many are unsure tariffs are the best approach and wary about the economic damage they could cause. Illinois is the nation's top producer of soybeans. Some 43,000 farmers grow the crop in this state alone. They rely on soybeans because they are cheaper to grow and in demand overseas, helping farms stay profitable while buffeted by the boom and bust cycles inherent in agriculture. The crop is easy to spot in Harvard, covering miles and miles of land, including on Davidson's family farm. Half of his land is set aside for soybeans, the other for corn. The thick rows of soybeans Davidson walks through are already 3 feet tall, with broad leaves hiding the small bean pods. He plans to harvest in early fall. Because he has no storage facility, he will have to sell them immediately after harvesting and accept whatever price he can get.
Never heard of a tariff on soybeans before by one of our biggest buyers, China. But I'm not worried about it at all because I truly believe it's going to end by harvest season. There's nothing we can do about it if it turns non-profitable. Still have to farm it and just take a hit.
E3 2018 draws tens of thousands of video gaming fans to the annual show. That's next. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
Know the latest news and information here and abroad. In Aguila, Balita, track the latest happenings in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Be aware of important events in Asia, in ASEAN in Focus, and be updated in the biggest news around the world in Eagle News International. Tune into Mata ng Aguila and get the day's headlines and news that are sharp, accurate, and objective. Only here at Net 25.
Aguila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 7:30 hanggang alas 8 ng umaga. Aguila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang alauna ng hapon.
This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. I am Ace Ramirez. The annual Electronic Entertainment Expo in Los Angeles draws thousands of video gaming fans to this one-of-a-kind show. EBC's Alan Basalaje takes us to day one. Let's take a look.
We're inside the Los Angeles Convention Center for E3 2018, where over 60,000 guests are expected to participate in this year's quintessential video game expo. We've only got 3 days to check out thousands of new products and titles, so this is bound to be one blazingly high-paced assault on our video game senses. I love cartoons, so when I heard that one of Cartoon Network's most popular shows had a game in development, I immediately power walked my way over here. So join me, if you will, for adventure, specifically Adventure Time Pirates of the Enchiridion.
What the? How'd we get into the middle of the ocean?
Take to the seas as Finn, Jake, and other Adventure Time heroes try to unravel the mystery of the sudden and massive flooding of the land of Ooo. Voiced by the show's cast, Pirates of the Enchiridion administers a heavy dose of humor that the cartoon is famous for, and incorporates a turn-based battle system. Fans of the show will instantly recognize principal players like the Ice King and Princess Bubblegum, and will be delighted to visit familiar locations such as the Candy Kingdom. Adventure Time Pirates of the Enchiridion will be released for PC, Xbox One, PS4, and the Nintendo Switch.
Walk the plank, make my timbers shiver. Almighty!
We can't show you all the games at E3. There's just too many of them. But here's a short sampling of what we got our hands on, me mateys. Everyone's favorite friendly neighborhood wall crawler looks like a polished gem, thanks in large part to game developer Insomniac. You can find Spidey taking the fight against the baddies onto the streets of New York City, but where you won't find him is on the Xbox One, because this game has been announced as a PS4 exclusive. Thwip thwip. Kingdom Hearts was a crowd favorite at this year's show, and what playable demo of this beloved franchise would be complete without some acrobatic keyblade action from our guy Sora? For high-octane racing, you really can't beat Forza Horizon 4. Set in the UK, players tackle road conditions affected by the changing seasons, all the while driving through some pretty breathtaking scenery. And my personal #1 pick for most anticipated game goes to Cyberpunk 2077. There was a 50-minute extended demo that we're not allowed to show, but take my word for it, this game will break new grounds. Last stop on our Day 1 tour was at Indiecade. They'll have their own festival later on this year, but E3 was definitely a stage they wanted to stand on. And despite going toe-to-toe with some heavy hitters, these independent game developers weren't about to pull any punches. That'll do it for today's coverage of E3 2018. But stay locked into Eagle News for our continuing report of E3 Day 2, which starts very soon. You don't want to miss it. Reporting from the Los Angeles Convention Center at E3, I'm Alan Basoyahe for Eagle News, and I'm 1 with 25.
More on this year's E3 and the next Eagle News episodes this week. That is today's Eagle News Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I'm Ace Ramirez. I'm 1 with 25.